Good morning. And welcome. Welcome to those of you here. Welcome to those of you at home. Welcome to those of you who are on Facebook, and welcome to those of you who are watching us later. Today is our monthly multi-generational service, and children and youth will be with us throughout our service. My philosophy of multi-generational services is that they are engaging for both adults and children, and not childish services that the adults have to put up with. So Danielle and I are looking forward to today and to bringing you services throughout this year. So let us know what you think. Our theme this morning is courage, which is the Soul Matters theme for the month that our children are learning about in religious education. And I selected this poem by Anne Sexton for our opening words, which will be read by 4 of our people. So Laura, if you will come forward. And I believe Julia has the first words.
Courage. It is in the small things we see it. The child's first step, as awesome as an earthquake. The first time you rode a bike wallowing up the sidewalk. The first spanking when your heart went on a journey all alone. When they called you crybaby or poor or fatty or crazy and made you into an alien, you drank their acid and concealed it.
Later, if you faced the death of bombs and bullets, you did not do it with a banner. You did it with only a hat to cover your heart. You did not fondle the weakness inside you, though it was there. Your courage was a small coal that you kept swallowing. If your buddy saved you and died himself in so doing, then his courage was not courage, it was love. Love as simple as shaving soap.
Later, if you have endured a great despair, then you did it alone, getting a transfusion from the fire, picking the scabs off our heart, then wringing it out like a sock. Next, my kinsman, you powdered your sorrow. You gave it a back rub, and then you covered it with a blanket. And after it had slept a while, it woke to the wings of the roses and was transformed.
Later, when you face old age and its natural conclusion, your courage will still be shown in the little ways. Each spring will be a sword you'll sharpen. Those you love will live in a fever of love, and you'll bargain with the calendar. And at the last moment, when death opens the back door, you'll put on your carpet slippers and stride out.
Thank you. And if you will rise in body or spirit as you are able and sing with us, "The Morning Hangs a Signal." We're going to play it through once because it may not be familiar to everyone, and Steve is going to help lead us. The words will be on your screens.
Julia will light our chalice this morning as I read these words, Who We Are Called to Be by Pat Uribe Lichty. Our chalice is a reminder that in hard times, our ancestors in faith acted with courage to bring hope and safety, to bring life itself to threatened people. We light it today as a reminder of who we are called to be in a world still dangerous and despairing. With courage and faith, we bring ourselves to the work before us. Thank you, Julia. As always, I do have a few announcements this morning. If you are new to the fellowship and would like to know more about us, please join Reverend Debra in her office after the service today. It will be an opportunity to ask questions about Unitarian Universalism, our fellowship, and our religious community here in Huntington. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and join Reverend Debra for an informal time together. Our 6th annual pumpkin patch is going splendidly this year, but the Pumpkin Queens request your help in spreading the word about it. Please grab some flyers after the service. They're in the social hall at the pumpkin table, and there are also some out in the foyer. And bring them around town wherever you go so you can post them in your favorite places and let everyone know where to get the best pumpkins and gourds around. This from our president, Ken Bewley-Newmar. The UUFH is proud to co-sponsor a Zoom event with LINC, Long Island Network for Change, and Andy Campbell called We Are the Proud Boys, how a right-wing street gang ushered in a new era of American extremism. Mr. Campbell will be speaking on the rise of extremism, including here on Long Island, and a Q&A will follow on October 25th at 7:30. There will be more details in the flash, and you can also contact Helen Boxwell for more information. The Huntington Town Council will be holding a public hearing at Jack Abrams School Wednesday, October 19th at 7 p.m. to repeal an outdated abortion law. Flyers were being handed out as you walked in, and if you didn't get one, they are out in the foyer so you can pick one up. Exciting news, there is a young Ukrainian couple, their small dog, and possibly the woman's mom moving to Huntington. Our financial support in this interfaith effort helped bring them here. They will be arriving in the next 10 days or so. The Flash will have more information about this coming Thursday. For much more about these announcements and others, please see our e-newsletter, The Flash, or check out the news and announcements section of our website. And now, please join me in saying our mission statement. The words are on the screen. In religious community, we nurture our individual spirits through caring for one another and helping to heal the world.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Danielle Burby. I'm the Director of Religious Education here, and I am very excited to be sharing a Time for All Ages story today about a Unitarian Universalist forebearer, Eliza Tupper Wilkes. So I want us to start by just putting on our imagination caps. Imagine traveling by horse and buggy along dusty dirt roads in summer heat, fording streams, swatting mosquitoes, wearing clothes with long sleeves and a high collar, or making the same trip on icy roads, beginning in the dark of a cold winter morning, whipped by bitter wind with sleet stinging your face. Imagine that a congregation is waiting for you when you reach your destination. You preach a sermon, lead the hymns, meet with the church officers, give counsel to troubled parishioners, and help organize a church supper or an evening discussion group. Then, at the end of a long day, you go to another congregation. A day like this would have been a typical Sunday for a Universalist minister in the group known as the Iowa Sisterhood. Today, I will tell the story of one of those women. Eliza Tupper Wilkes was born in May 1844. So 1844 was 178 years ago. Do you know any 178-year-olds? No, it was a long time ago. Her father was a Baptist minister, and her mother was a writer and editor. Her mother's job was very unusual because back then, married women rarely had a profession outside of housekeeping. Eliza didn't like the Baptist religion's teachings about hellfire and damnation. She preferred the Universalist message that we are all whole. To the horror of her family, she decided to join the Universalists. And the Universalist Church was the first denomination to welcome women ministers. So Eliza became an ordained Unitarian minister. She organized 7 churches in South Dakota, Iowa, and Minnesota. And her plan was to turn each one over to another minister after it was established, as she moved on to establishing the next. But ministers were in short supply, so she often served at several of these different congregations at once. She spent many, many years traveling from town to town. And she was a trailblazer, but she was not alone. Other women were establishing Unitarian congregations in Iowa and the surrounding states. And these women ministers encouraged other women to come into the ministry. And so the sisterhood grew. And they often faced people who were hostile to the idea of women in their congregations, but they proved to be so effective that congregations in the Midwest and West quickly grew. So along with their religious message of optimism and hope, these women ministers tended to bring a comforting, home-like quality to church meetings. And beyond their religious duties, they often organized cultural and social events that were appreciated by people living in these isolated areas. The women of the Iowa Sisterhood would trade off as guest speakers at each other's congregations. And so there's a story about Eliza's daughter that goes, one Sunday, a male reverend spoke at the pulpit. And Eliza's little daughter was stunned. And she said, "Look, Mama, there's a man up there on the pulpit." Women ministers were very rare in the rest of the world, but for the young congregation in South Dakota and Iowa and the West, female ministers had become the norm, thanks to the dedication and hard work and courage of a group of women, including Eliza. Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. This is the time in our service for our joys and concerns. We extend our love to the family of Bill Hecker, whose ashes were interred here yesterday, and who the flowers are from. I want a candle of happiness for Lisa and Steve Burby, who will be celebrating their 35th year of marriage, and they met here 36 years ago, so happy anniversary. I also ask you to hold in our hearts the Iranian women who truly have the kind of courage we are talking about today, and to the Ukrainian people. So if you would join me, please, in some moments of silent meditation and prayer, as you will. Spirit of life and love, we ask for courage this morning. The courage to face this world. A world that sometimes seems so hard. Where people around the world are fighting for their rights, or even the right to simply exist. Where the divisions of the world can seem so heavy. Where we worry about our own selves and the people who we love. We worry about health. We worry about jobs. We worry about relationships. We worry about climate change and injustice and hatred. And yet each morning we awake to find ourselves with the gift of yet another day. And some days we need the courage to step into that world, to celebrate the children among us, to celebrate the anniversaries, to celebrate love, to celebrate the new jobs, the new homes, the new experiences, the new opportunities, the chance for one more day. And so we get up our courage and we get up and we get dressed and we come to this congregation to be with each other, to offer each other the courage, the support, and the love. Because together we are never alone, and we are grateful. Amen.
Some of our RE students have a very special treat for us this morning. I need to make sure that they get their microphones, so give me 1 second. They're actually doing hand calls. There should be 4. We're missing our 4th microphone.
You. One for you. You got another one. Oh, you don't get one? Okay.
All right, we're going to share some microphones. All right, so we have some of our RE participants performing a scene from The Wizard of Oz for you. So they're going to come into the back. All right.
I don't like this forest. It's dark and creepy. Of course I don't know, but I'll think it'll get darker before it gets lighter.
Do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals?
We might.
Oh, animals that eat straw?
Some, but mostly lions and tigers and bears.
Lions? And tigers?
And bears.
Oh, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Oh my. Oh my. What sort of animal is that?
It's a huge one.
Don't be frightened. I'll protect you. Oh, look.
Put 'em up, put 'em up. Which one of you first? I'll fight you both together if you want. I'll fight you with one of my paws tied back behind me. I'll fight you standing on one foot. I'll fight you with my eyes closed. Oh, pulling an axe on me, eh? Sneaking up on me. Why? Oh, scared, huh? Afraid, huh? How long can you stay fresh in that can? Come on, get up and fight, you shivering junkyard. Put your hands up, you loop-sided bag of hay.
Now that's getting personal, Lion. Well, what's wrong with you teaching him?
What did you have to do that for? I didn't bite him.
No, but you tried to. It's bad enough picking on a straw man, but when you go around picking on poor little dogs...
Well, you didn't have to hit me, did you? Is my nose bleeding?
Well, of course not. My goodness, what a fuss you're making. Well, naturally, when you go around picking on things that are weaker than you are, why, you're nothing but a great big coward.
You're right, I am a coward. I haven't any courage at all. I even scare myself. Look at the circles under my eyes. I haven't slept in weeks.
Why don't you try hunting sheep?
That doesn't do any good. I'm afraid of them.
Oh, that's too bad. Don't you think the wizard could help him too?
I don't see why not. Why don't you come along with us? We're on our way to see the wizard now, to get him a heart. I'm sure he could give you some courage.
Well, wouldn't you feel degraded to be seen in the company of a cowardly lion? I would.
No, of course not.
Thank you, guys. So, as we may or may not know, some people may, some people may not, in The Wizard of Oz, we have characters who are on their way to see the great and powerful wizard to help Dorothy and Toto get home, to help the Scarecrow find a brain, to help the Tin Man have a heart, and to help the lion, the cowardly lion, find courage. And of course, when they do meet the great and terrible Wizard of Oz, they realize he's not so great, he's not so terrible, he's not a wizard, he's just a man, he's just pretending to to be so scary, kind of like the lion was. So the lion was being a bully because the lion was scared. And at the end of the day, what they learn when they meet the wizard is Dorothy can get herself home, and Toto. The Tin Man already has a heart, is actually very, very compassionate. The Scarecrow is very smart. He already has a brain. And the lion, the courage was inside of him the whole time. So that is the message that I hope you take away from the skit that they so beautifully performed for you.
Our split plate recipient for October is the UUA Disaster Relief Fund. As I'm sure you all know, thousands and thousands of Floridians were adversely affected by Hurricane Ian. Some of those affected include a couple of our own UU congregations. The building which holds our congregation in Fort Myers sustained significant damage in the tens of thousands of dollars, and the UU congregation of Venice saw many of their congregates lose their homes. The UUA Disaster Relief Fund is there to help, but their funds are low and our financial help is vital. The monetary support you give today will go directly to our brother and sister Unitarian Universalists who need our support now. I am a fortunate person and have put a nice check in the basket. I'm asking you to give as generously as you are able. Those of you here with us today can put your contribution into the basket that will be passed around, or you and those at home this morning can send a check to the office or donate through the website as seen on your screen. Thank you.
And of course, the title of this meditation makes me think of Taylor Swift, but. All right, so can you hear me okay? Yeah, okay. We're going to be doing a moving meditation. So I welcome you to stand as you are able. You don't have to stand if you'd rather do this from your seat. All right. Feel the gravity of the earth holding you in place. Wiggle your toes as if they were roots. Roots connect you to the earth, lending you strength. Gently sway in the wind, turning your body like the trunk of a tree, leaning this way and that, bending as the air pushes and pulls. What surrounds you may sway you, make you bend and feel unbalanced. Wiggle your toes. Know that your roots can hold you as you grow and learn. A tree is nourished by the soil and water. You are nourished by food the earth grows and the water it provides. You are cared for and loved by many people. Know that your roots are strong. And now that you're rooted, it's time to let your energy flow. So let your body move however it wants to. We'll do that for a moment. Maybe there's a stretch that you want to do, right? Maybe you want to touch your toes. And to end it, we will shake it off. So let that excess energy out. Just let it out. Shake your body. And then breathe in and breathe out. Thank you for joining me on this meditation.
And don't sit down. So we're going to do some karaoke now. Do you all know what karaoke is? Okay. And this is a song that I was sure was from Pinocchio and that Jiminy Cricket sang it, but it's not. It's from The King and I. It's called Whenever I Feel Afraid. And the words will be on the screen. And if you feel like whistling a little bit with it, that would be fun too. So there'll be a little introduction, and then Steve, I'm going to ask you to get us started. Okay. Thanks, Deb.
I believe it's on.
Feel afraid on my head. No one will suspect I'm afraid.
Shivering in my shoes.
Just like a careless pose, whistle a happy tune. No one ever knows I'm afraid. Right, you all can do better. When I feel people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune. Every single time, the happiness in that tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Oh, Steve, nice. As brave as you make believe you are. Should we do more karaoke in here? So children, I'm going to let you in on a secret. So those of you in that back room, you need to pay attention. I'm going to tell you a secret about grown-ups. Sometimes we're afraid. We sometimes need to find the courage we've been talking about all morning to go on. There are even some days we just need courage just to get up, right, grown-ups? See, grown-ups are afraid of all sorts of things. Just like children, some grown-ups are afraid of things like spiders. Anybody here afraid of spiders? Or bugs? Anybody? Snakes? Yeah. Thunder? Lightning? Public speaking? And many of us are afraid of bigger things, like our children getting hurt, right? Or whether we or someone we love is going to get sick from COVID or something else. Or maybe of not having enough money, lots of things. And I'm guessing a lot of you might think I'm brave. After all, I just moved here to become your minister. I knew no one in Huntington. I had to find a new home. I had to find a new community. I have to make new friends. I took a new job at this congregation. So that's a lot, right? And it did take courage to make this big change in my life. I've also held jobs where I have to be really brave, where I take on people in public, in legislators and in Congress and on television, where I take them on because they want to deny other people their rights. But I'm going to tell you all a secret. I have a lot of phobias. A phobia, for those of you who don't know that word, that's bigger than a fear. The dictionary defines it as having an exaggerated or unrealistic sense of danger about a situation or object. I think the reason I have phobias is because I grew up in a house where my parents thought the world was dangerous. That made sense because they grew up at a time where people were killing their relatives in Europe during the Holocaust, a time when Jews were being murdered by Hitler. So when I was little and I wanted to go outside, and the Jewish people from Jewish backgrounds may relate to this, my mother wouldn't say, you know, be careful. My mother would say, you're going to cut your feet to shreds. And when I wanted to go out with my hair still wet from a shower, she would say, you're going to get a pneumonia, not a cold. See, the Christians, you heard a cold. Right? To the Jewish people in the room, anybody else hear pneumonia? Yeah, right? Pneumonia. And she would say to me, don't do that, you'll hurt yourself a lot. And I now understand that that was because the world seemed scary to my mom. So even today, I have things I'm afraid of. So here's what I'm going to talk about at a sermon later on in the year, but I do everything I can to avoid a down escalator. No, honest, really. I can tell you where every elevator is everywhere. Even though I know there's nothing unsafe about getting on an escalator. And here's my big one. I get irrationally afraid when I'm on an airplane and it hits turbulence. Turbulence, for the children here, that means bumpy skies. I want you to know, if it's bad enough, if it's bumpy enough, I've even asked total strangers to hold my hand. Once, I was coming home from Washington, D.C. on a plane. We hit a lightning strike, and the plane began to bounce and shake, like really bounce and shake. I had testified in Congress that morning. I mean, that's pretty brave, right? And I was wearing a clerical collar. That's a shirt that has a tab. I look like a priest. My son says I look like I'm in drag. And that's to show that I was a minister when I testified in Congress. And so the plane is bouncing, 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 and I'm holding on, and I've got my eyes shut, and I am praying my little heart out to myself. And the man next to me on the plane reached over, and he tugged on my sleeve. And I opened my eyes, and he said, Pastor, you're freaking the rest of us out. See, he thought that because I was a minister, I might be getting special messages from God that something bad was going to happen. I told him, please just ignore me. Although I thought about it later, like if a nun was sitting on the plane really praying hard, that would probably freak me out too. I told him, I'm just afraid of turbulence, even though I know airplanes are the safest way to travel, and planes never fall out of the sky. So you all might have your own fears or phobias, and I hope children and parents will talk about this tonight. I have other phobias, but 2 is enough to share today. But what's more important for me today to tell you is that I made up my mind a long time ago that I wouldn't let my fears get in the way of doing anything that was important to me to do. For example, even though I hate flying, I used to fly more than 50,000 miles a year, even though I was often very afraid of it. Flying to places around the US and the world was the only way I could do my work as an advocate for sexuality education and women and queer people's rights, and the only way I could travel to new places that I love. I still have to face my fear every time I get on a plane. So you see, that's what courage is, doing it despite being afraid. There's a banner here in my office that says courage, not the absence of fear or despair, but the strength to conquer them. See, it's human to be afraid. Do you know that the Bible has the line, "Do not be afraid," more than any other line? Do not be afraid appears almost 150 times in the Hebrew and Christian scriptures. God says it to Abraham, to Hagar, to Sarah. Moses says it to the people of Israel as they cross the desert. Actually, he says it a lot. God, you may remember in the Christmas narrative, says it to Joseph about making Mary his wife. He says it to Mary about being pregnant with Jesus. He says it to the shepherds in the field when they see the star. Do not be afraid. I think the reason it's in the Bible so much is that it's part of our human condition to be afraid, to fear the unknown, the uncomfortable, to be afraid that everyone and everything we know and love will die. That's a scary but real thought. But it's hard, isn't it, to hear "be not afraid" and have it make us feel any more peaceful or calmer? If the man on the plane next to me had just looked at me and said, "Oh, don't be afraid, Pastor," would that have helped? No. I don't think it really helps most of us either to just whistle a happy tune, right? Although praying helps me calm down. I'm not always sure I know who I'm praying to, but just deep breathing, like Danielle showed us, and my own silence can help me find courage inside me. What does make a difference is accepting that we are afraid, that we have fears, and getting on with it anyway. There's a kind of therapy that I have found very helpful called ACT. Does anyone know what ACT is? A few people. ACT stands for Acceptance Commitment Therapy. It's based on recognizing that the very oldest part of our brain, our reptilian brain, is there to keep us safe. To the children, it's that part of our brain that when cave people saw a lion coming at them, made them so afraid that they'd have the courage, the energy to run away as fast as they could. That part of our brain is still very much with us, even though we don't have lions like we had today in the street here in Huntington. So I have learned that the first thing to do when I'm afraid is to thank my old lizard brain for taking care of me. When the plane starts to bounce and my hands start to sweat, I say, "Thank you, lizard brain, for doing your job." Literally, I say that to myself. Thank you, lizard brain, for doing your job. And then I ask the other parts of my brain, are we safe? And they remind me that airplanes are built to withstand turbulence, and the plane indeed will land safely. I tell my lizard brain, we're okay, but you can come along with the rest of our brain and body until we land. And then, almost miraculously, my lizard brain relaxes. I breathe in and out like Danielle showed us, and I commit to the rest of the ride. So you might try that when you feel afraid of something. Thank your lizard brain for doing its job, and ask the rest of your brain if you're okay. See, fear is your body's response. Courage is the decision to act anyway. There are a lot of things in our world for us to be afraid of. We don't want to discount that. What are some of those? Climate change. Republicans. Hatred. Intolerance. What did you say? Crazy drivers. People we love getting sick. Losing our jobs. Not having enough money. There are people here right now that are worrying about this congregation. Will we be changing too much? Will we be okay with a new minister? What happens if a lot of new people join and things start to change? Will this still feel like my home? And we're going to be talking a lot about that in the months to come, how we can embrace needed change and deal with our fears and anxieties. See, it's human to be afraid. The question is, how are we going to handle our feelings? I've personally decided there is too much I want to do with my life, too many places I want to go, too many important things I need to fight for to allow my fears to dictate my life. I can be afraid, and I can get on with what's important. I can seek help when my fears get the best of me. We can talk to a friend or a parent or a therapist or maybe someone right here in this congregation. I can accept my fears and find the courage to get on with my life. My friend and colleague, the Reverend Wayne Arneson, wrote a wonderful prayer about this in our hymnal. You've probably heard it before. He wrote, "Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. We are not alone. We have each other, and together we can be courageous." And if you will rise as you are able, and we are going to be singing closing hymn number 1029, Love Knocks and Wait for Us to Hear. The words will be on the screen.
Love knocks and waits for us to hear, to open and invite. Love longs to quiet every fear and seeks to set things right. Love offers life in spite of foes who threaten and condemn. Embracing enemies, love goes the second mile with them. Love comes to heal the broken heart, to ease the troubled mind. Without a word, love bids us start to ask and seek and find. Love knocks and enters at the sound of welcome from within. Love sings and dances all around and feels new life begin.
The closing words this morning are from the writer Anne Rice. I love these words so much that they are on the inside door in my home, and I read them every morning. She wrote, "Ignore any loss of nerve, ignore any loss of self-confidence, ignore any doubt or confusion. Move on believing in love, in peace and in harmony, and in great accomplishment. Remember, joy isn't a stranger to you. You are winning and you are strong. Love. Love first, love always, love forever." And so, my friends, as I say each week, go in peace. May our real service begin. And now I'm going to invite you to stand up once again. The children want to come forward. That might be fun. And we're going to watch Sarah Bareilles sing and dance to her video, Brave. I invite you to sing along with her. You can follow her dancers. Come on up. And when she says, I want to see you be brave, you can do this. I want to see you be brave, okay? And just pound on your chest. So we're going to be led by the children as we dance this morning, all right? I want to see you be brave and move. Okay.
So thanks so much for joining us today. For those here at the fellowship, you're invited to go into our social hall for coffee and conversation. For those who are newcomers and want to speak with Reverend Debra, grab a cup of coffee or tea and head to her office. For those of you at home, have a wonderful day and a wonderful week.